Hey, welcome and welcome back to S.WigginsTV. I'm your host, Worldwide Wiggins, back with another list for y'all. Today we gonna be talking about the underdog hoods out there, / the most hated hoods out there. You know, this one right here, it ain't too long. You know what I'm saying? This ain't a long list. You know what I'm saying? But you know, I figured I'd hit y'all with something today. You know, kind of get y'all on the rebound later, you know what I'm saying? Real quick, I like to shout out my boy for that Cash App, Gardena. Good looking, homie. I appreciate that. And number 2, you know what I'm saying? I just named a few. You know, I'm not finna comb all of the hoods out there. I'm not finna comb the history for all of the hoods out there. But make sure you check me out on the Get Back. And most of all, be sure to go subscribe to my second channel. Cause I know I've been, slacking, but I will be dropping content on both channels on a regular basis. I promise you that. Just go on my page and you gonna see at the bottom. You can scroll down and see Worldwide Wiggins. If you ain't got time to do that, just type in Worldwide Wiggins on your search bar. So you gonna see my second page. Enough talking, man. No long with the intro. Let's go. Alright, when we talk about the most hated hoods, we got Acacia Block, Hustler Crips, and Hawthorne. First things first, on my last hoods that came from other hood series, I said something that, I got from my G homie. People said wasn't very accurate. Now, I was told that Acacia Block, Hustler Crips, and Hawthorne came from Acacia Block, Compton Crips, and that it was started by a specific OG, who I'm not gonna name, but a few people told me it was false, that even though Acacia Block Compton Crips used to come over there and they had their little spat or whatever, if that was the case, it really had nothing to do with them adopting that hood name, because they actually got an Acacia Street over there in Hawthorne. So shouts out to Acacia Block Hustler Crips, and I would like to issue an apology for that statement. Because like I said, that's what I heard from the G homie. With that being said, I would have to say that in the city of Hawthorne, in my opinion, Acacia Block Hustler Crips are probably the most hated hood. Where they located, they surrounded by the Eucalyptus 11-8 Gangster Crips to their west, 11-8 Gangster Crips to their east, and 11-1 Mad Ass Gangster Crips across 120th to their north. Don't forget, they part of the Rolling Hundreds, even though they way in Hawthorne. And as you know, for the most part, Gangster Crips are opposed to all Rolling Crips. And like I just said, they surrounded by what? Gangster Crips. Another most hated, the Gear Gang Crips. I've been asked to do the Gear Gang Crips for a long time. So check it out, because here it is. Gear gangs are pretty much, in the West Adams area, close to West LA. They are surrounded by, mostly Gangster Crips and Damu hoods in the area that really hate them. If you didn't know, the Gear Gang Crips push 2 times, which to my knowledge is a Crip affiliation, which is, really synonymous with neighborhood and block and the Rolling Crip Alliance. And when they forbid they hit the county jail, that's who they, hit the doors with. Gear Gang is hated by virtually all of the West LA Crips, which are Gangster Crips. And both Peace Stone Bloods, especially the Jungles. I don't usually involve the Latino hoods, but 18th Street, a notorious Latino hood in the area, also beef with them. They pretty much surrounded, bro. So we gotta give Gear Gangs their respect for still pushing their hood and being outside and being able to manage, especially in these crazy times. Rolling 80s, West Coast Long Beach Crips. Since we doing all the requests today, today is Rolling 80 Day. The Rolling 80s West Coast Crips is a Crip hood on the west side of Long Beach. And it's often overlooked, and I must admit, I'm guilty of it too. They are reputable and have been around since the 70s. They mainly occupy the Springdale projects, and they main street is on 32nd, and they hood park is Silverado Park. When you really get to the meat and potatoes, after of course the Insane 20s, for argument's sake, Rolling 80s might just be the most hated Crip hood. They beef with the West Side Longos, Insane, Naughty Nasty Gangster Crips, Southern Small Gangster Crips, Black Bandit Crips, 19th Street, and even the Carson Parus, who is not too far away. Then I'm not even including the East Side Pain and Waterfront. I don't know if they still there, all due respect. And another thing, Y'all was wondering why I never included West Coast 80s on the small hoods list. Does this look like a small hood to you? Thank you. Now, you got the most hated again. Who's the most hated hood at Carson? The 190 East Coast. Certain things can be disputed, but what I'm about to say cannot. 190 East Coast is the most hated hood at Carson. They beef with Stevenson Village Crips, all of the Parus in Carson, and even outside hoods that be in Compton and South Central. And then you realize that's not even including the beef that they have on the east side. You know, and over even in Watts, which comes with just having the name East Coast. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people said that I should have included 190 because when I did the richest Crips out there, so you know, I wasn't really aware, you know, that they was getting it on like that, and that's my apology. You know what I'm saying? My apologies. All right, now here's a slept on hood, Underdog hood, the Hacienda Village Bloods. This one right here is for Lil Nut up there in the halfway house. Keep your head up. I promise I would even do something bigger for him, you know, for his hood. When it comes to Watts, it's a lot of reputable hoods out there. But one of the most overlooked blood gangs is the Hacienda Village Bloods. Hacienda Village Bloods might be the most reputable but least talked about hood in Watts as far as Bloods go. Make sure you understand what I'm saying, bro. They have a tight relationship with the bounty hunters, and for the most part, they beef with mostly Crips. A lot of people don't know that they are not a small hood, and they have hundreds of members. They control the Hacienda Village projects on the east side near Compton Avenue and 105th Street. While we in Watts, gotta mention another slept-on hood, the 7th Street Watts Crips. When you talk about overlooked, 7th Street Watts is the textbook definition. For those of you who don't know, the 7th Street Watts Crips are located near 120th and Willowbrook, behind that shopping center with DD's and Food for Less. You know, and that hood right there is very reputable. But on a more positive note, I would like to give them their flowers for producing a talented rapper by the name of Glasses Malone. G Malone was once signed to Cash Money Records and has done songs with Lil Wayne, Mac 10, and others from that camp. I also appreciate the fact that he would even do songs with underground artists to help him get their buzz up. Like when he did the cameo for the Hard to Pay freestyle with Young Fifth from the neighborhood Compton Crips, and rest in peace Booby Soprano from Shotgun. Alright, let's move on over to the Low Bottoms, another slept on hood that's even surrounded but beefs with mostly Bloods. You got the Low Bottom Hustler Crips. An interesting topic I heard about this hood is that this hood came from when black members from a Latino gang, I think it was called the Low Bottom Dresse or something like that, but it was near Low Bottoms, and they came together and formed their own hood in the 1990s. Is that true? Y'all let me know. But what we do know for sure is that the Low Bottom Hustler Crips are a smaller Crip set in the Low Bottoms that's clicked up with the Mac Thug Hustler Crips, and they territory go from Long Beach Boulevard to Central and from Adams to Washington. They once had their own rap group back in the day in the mid-90s called the Low Bottom Hustlers. That video that they had was dope, I remember. Alright, let's go back to Carson, the Cabbage Patch Parus. In my eyes, the most overlooked Paru hood in Carson might be the Cabbage Patch Parus. You know, along with, you know, Scotch Park and Scottsdale. At one point in the 90s, the Cabbage Patch Paru's name was ringing bells, and they was beefing with a lot of Compton Crips. They had a deadly war going on with the Stevenson Village and the 190 East Coast. They territory go from Wilmington Avenue to the 405 freeway, and from 213th Street to 220th. Even though they stretch a little bit further north and claim Dolphin Park as their hood park. And I just found out while doing more research that Bob Whitfield, you know, I don't like sports, I'm not into sports, but he was a football player for the Falcons allegedly. And you know, he said he grew up in the Cabbage Patch Paru's hood, but his older homies would encourage him to stay, you know, on the right path. So he went on to flourish. And that's the type of OGs we need, if you ask me. Because let me tell you, he could have fell into the hands of some ignorant older mug that would have got him packed out like, hey, you from the hood now. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know. All right, let's go on and wrap it up with the Graveyard Gangster Crips. Now, when you talk about Overlook, you have to talk about the Graveyard Gangster Crips. They over there in the Santa Monica area, and they derive their hood name from the Woodlawn Cemetery, which is located in one of the main streets in their hood. They be for show lines, West Boulevard, Santa Monica 13, mostly all neighborhood Crips. Hence the Gangster Crip in their name. They push 3 times, and Deep West is they, West Side area. All right, that's gonna conclude it for today, man. Just a little dime sack for today, man. Gonna roll it up, hit it. Make sure you add my second channel, man. I got some plans. I got the blueprint. I'm finna level up on y'all. You ain't ready for this. I'm out of here.